Barbell back squats are one of those staple leg day exercises. So today we're just going to cover some of the most important cues that I want you guys to be thinking about while you're performing this exercise. First thing we're going to touch on is feet positioning. This is going to be really individual from person to person. So for myself, I like to have a stand around shoulder width with my toes pointed out slightly. Some people will prefer a slightly wider stance with their toes pointed a bit further out. Some people will find they can comfortably get to depth even with a stance like this. Next thing we want to look at is our rack height. So the most important thing with rack height is we want it to be low enough that we can comfortably get the bar off, but we don't want it to be too low to the point that it's just going to make getting into the exercise a lot harder than it needs to be. So for most people, we want to set the rack at a height that is just below the height of our armpits. This is going to mean that we can comfortably get underneath the bar and unrack it without any problems. And now that we've got our feet positioning and our rack height set, we're ready to actually get into a few reps. One thing that I'm not going to touch on in this video is going to be about bracing our core. I'm going to do a whole separate video covering that because there's quite a bit to talk about there. So we want to pick a grip that's comfortable. For most people, the same grip as their bench press will work best. So once we've got our grip set, we're then going to duck our head underneath the bar and we're going to try and rest the bar on the meaty part on the top of our shoulders. So it shouldn't be pressing directly into our neck, and it shouldn't feel like it's going to fall off our back. There should be a nice little shelf there that we can sit the bar on. From there, we're going to take 2 steps out and then a little shimmy to get our feet into a comfortable position, brace our core nice and tight, and then we're going to break from our hips and our knees at the same time, go as low into our squat as we can while maintaining a neutral spine, and then coming up nice and tall. So once again, breaking from our hips and knees at the same time, sitting down into that squat as low as we comfortably can, and then standing up nice and tall. And last thing we're going to want to keep an eye on while we're doing our squats is what our knees are doing. So, as much as it's not too important whether our knees are collapsing in an ideal squat, we do want to make sure that we are trying to keep those knees tracking over our feet. So we don't want to see them collapsing in. We want to keep the mouse nice and wide. It's just going to create a bit more of a stable base for us. So with our knees, we just want to think out over those toes and then coming up nice and tall. Trying to avoid too much knee cave as we go down. Just keep them tracking nice and straight and then coming back up nice and tall.